Hey, people. Archived Memories here. Here to talk about some more cards from an old game that doesn't exist any longer and never will again.
Yes, and it is me, Archived Memories 2, also here to talk about cards.
Please say in the comments who your favorite Archived Memories is.
For me, it's the one that was archived.
For me, it's the one that was most memorable.
Wow. If only I could remember.
Yeah, well, you can't because, I don't know, you're stupid or something.
I took too much brain damage.
Yeah. References. That's my favorite part of this show is when we make references.
Yep. Almost like the entire podcast is a long string of references. Most of them just aren't funny.
Yeah. Well, anyway, do we have anything to talk about this time before we start talking about the thing that we talk about?
Well, I almost played Netrunner last week, but then I didn't, so no.
Damn. That really, that really do be Netrunner news these days, is that I almost played it.
Yeah, that's all I've got. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like that's pretty breaking news.
Did the thing.
Okay, alright, do we want to talk about cards now?
Yeah, I love cards.
Dude, me too. First off, we got Shadow. It is a 3 to res, 1 strength ice with the subtypes Sentry and Tracer. It reads, Shadow can be advanced and has +1 strength for each advancement token on it. It has 2 subroutines that read, the core gains 2 credits, and Trace 3. If successful, give the runner 1 tag. And it is 1 influence out of the Wayland faction. So, why will Shadow never be able to beat the mediocre ice allegations?
Well, because they're true. I mean, alright. So Shadow is not bad, I think, at the time of its release.
I think it's not bad.
It's got 2 subroutines. If it fires when you res it, then you really only kind of net pay 1 credit for it. It's taxing ice at a time when taxing ice wasn't so much a thing. And sure, it's 3 credits to res, but it's generally speaking 2 credits for Mimic to get through. That's not bad. It's not terrible. It's never going to stop the runner, but it's going to cost them money.
Yeah. It's definitely not terrible. It is some of the most not terrible ice to be offered. But I think the real problem here, and the elephant in the room, for anybody that's familiar with Anarch and their ilk, is that this thing insta dies to Parasite if Grimoire is on the table.
Immediately. Yeah. Just takes zero turns. It's gone.
Yeah, so that's the problem, right? Is that, ultimately say they do face check it, and you get away with only spending 1 credit for it, then they can just insta-kill it. But even in that trade might not be terrible, though, because, you get the 2 credits back, so you only paid net 1, and then to install the Parasite, they have to pay 2, right? So, technically speaking, you come out a little bit ahead on that exchange.
Yeah, but also now your server is either not protected or less protected, so who's laughing?
Yeah, now the ice has not done the one thing that you want it to do, which is, dissuade the runner from entering the server.
Yeah.
So not great in that regard. And then Trace for 1 tag, probably never gonna fire.
Yeah, not very likely. Now, I will say a Trace 3 for a tag is not bad. That's kind of like gold standard for the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
You compare it to things like Hunter, which is kind of Shadow's competitor Ice, which I think is just a Trace 2 for a tag.
I believe you might be incorrect. I think it might actually be a Trace 4 on Hunter, but I think we'll find out soon enough.
There's no chance it's a Trace 4.
Well, we're going to find out. Anyway, what I was going to say is that, with keeping the Trace in mind, I feel like this isn't actually a terrible ice to spend 1 influence on if you're doing the default NBN identity and you're actually trying to make use of it. Because then every time they run into it, it's a trace 5 for a tag, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's if you're trying to do an actual, taggy sort of kill thing with default NBN and not just fast advance and ignore the ability.
Sure, which was kind of the identity for it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Also, it turns out we were both wrong. Hunter is trace 3.
Oh, well. It's the same fucking thing.
It's exactly the same.
It's the same ass thing. Maybe I was thinking that it has... Does it have 4 strength?
It has 4 strength, yeah, and is 1 to res. But only the 1 subroutine.
Gotcha. So not the same thing.
Correct.
The same, but different. Seems lame, but I don't know that I really have all that much more to say about Shadow. It's alright.
I'll say this about Shadow. It was not advanced. The only time Shadow was ever advanced was as a trick of Light Battery. Nobody cared. Yeah. Nobody's pumping a 1 strength sentry with Mimic around. You're talking about 3 strength pumps before it's even giving you anything.
This Shadow was so unadvanced throughout the history of Netrunner that my brain did not even register. Like the Shadow can be advanced text just like hit my forehead and like deflect it off.
Yeah, there's no room for it in there. It's not relevant.
Yeah, like completely just did not even register that that's a thing that this piece of ice like does.
Yeah. Which, tells you something both about advancing ice and Shadow.
Indeed. Do we want to, I guess, just talk about the flavor then?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the flavor text reads, "Who knows what evil lurks in the memory diamonds of men? Wayland knows. Unsigned cyber graffiti."
I mean, I enjoy the Shadow reference, but...
Yeah, so what has me interested is the concept of cyber graffiti. So you're telling me that in these, like data forts or servers or whatever, that people, just like virtually tag up a building. And
right. Imagine you could just go to Elon Musk's Twitter page and then just draw graffiti that other people will see on there.
Yeah, like I don't understand. How is that even a thing? Like, how can the corp not just get rid of it? I don't understand.
I think cyber graffiti is just shit posting.
Yeah, I guess. The art's kind of whatever.
Yeah, it's a Shadow building. I feel like they could have done better.
Yeah, definitely could have done better. For the longest time, I didn't even register that this was like a building or like a, alley or catty corner of 2 buildings or whatever it is. For a long time, I thought it was just an abstract sort of like amorphous shadowy figure. But that's just because I never really looked at the card long enough to register that, because it's, kind of whatever.
Yeah, that's fair.
Definitely not winning any points from me in the art department.
No, it's very monotone and has nothing distinctive or cyberish about it.
It's just kind of whatever, much like the card.
They could have at least had Lamont Cranston's big nose poking out of the corner or something.
I mean, at the very least. What do we rate Shadow?
Shadow is gonna get a 3 from me. I think it's reasonable. I think it kind of did its job. I don't hate it as taxing ice. It's just very, very vanilla.
I'm going to give it a 2, just because as okay as it is, I think it's like so okay that's almost even more of a negative mark on it.
Yeah, I see your point.
But yeah,
I still think it wasn't badly designed. Like, I think it hits a good balance niche. And so, even though it got overshadowed by better things later on, I don't so much see that as its fault.
Overshadowed, haha. Thought you could get away with that one.
I mean, it's not Shadow's fault that Architect was printed a couple of years later.
That is fair. But anyway, let's move on.
Okay, boy, are we in for exciting times. We're into upgrades now.
Wow.
We've got a research station. It is a 2-to-res Wayland upgrade with the facility subtype. It is 3 credits to trash. And it reads, install only in the root of HQ. Your maximum hand size is +2, and it is 1 influence. Okay, Aaron, would you pay 2 credits to have 2 more cards in your hand as Wayland? Or and an influence as somebody else?
No, I certainly would not. So, like, all right, I might go on a little bit of a tangent here. I think it's been a few episodes since I've done one of these, but who is this card for? This card is so stupid. Like, I don't understand, like, what they were thinking when they made this card. Like, did they really have some sort of inclination that, like, the corp holding on to more cards was like a powerful effect that the corp would want? Like, I get way later on down the line that, like, you know, the whole, you know, fucking 7-point CI, you know, doo-doo garbage, you know, where you hold your whole deck in your hand and then do some dumb shit with power shutdown or whatever. You know, like, doing that fucking thing, you know, that ended up, you know, being a, you know, degenerate, you know, sort of break the game kind of deck. But certainly not on purpose. Like, this was obviously designed, you know, with purpose, that, like, oh man, like, and it's an upgrade even. Like, oh wow, this is really cool that you can hold 2 more cards in your HQ. But it's stupid. It's like, why? Why would I want to do that?
I have a theory on why they did it.
All right, lay it on me.
I don't think it makes it good, but we've been talking these last couple episodes about Wayland and their murderish tendencies, and the fact that it's like Sea Scorch is a 3-card combo. It means it's taking up 3 card spaces in your hand, which means, you know, other things that you're having in your hand, you're running out of hand room. So they're like, here, this means you can hold more of those combo pieces in your hand, as well as other things, and not have to dump your agendas into archives or something.
Like, I guess. But they were very absolutely off the mark with that.
They were sorely mistaken, but I think that's the logic.
Because this card by no means is going to save you from getting agenda flooded if that's what's happening to you.
Right. It's like, okay, now instead of 4 agendas and a piece of ice, you have 5 agendas and 2 pieces of ice.
Yeah, like, wow.
We did it.
Like, damn, so fucking sick. I can, like, it's just, it's dumb. It's not good.
No, it does nothing for anyone.
Yeah. And especially not for 2 credits, and then the deck slot, and then it's only 3 to trash.
Alright, so there are a lot of garbage cards that we have covered, right?
Yes.
But this is a garbage card that's so garbage that I never even saw it. Like, there are garbage cards out there like Worm that are at least cool garbage that somebody tried to do something with. This is garbage that nobody put in anything at any point.
Yeah, well, because it doesn't even do anything that you could maybe, like, do something wacky with.
Yeah.
Like what's the wacky play with Research Station? I run 3 of them and then I can hold fucking 10 cards in my hand, or 11 cards.
They run your hand and trash them, and now you've got 6 cards in your hand that you have to get rid of.
The wacky play with Research Station is that I turn into CI, but my ability can be trashed. Like, it's just...
It's really bad.
It's dumb. It's bad and it's dumb. And yeah, you're 100% right in that this is one of the few cards, because as much as we have, you know, taken big old dookie dumps on a lot of the cards that we've talked about up till now, a very good portion of them, I mean the majority of them, I would say, I have seen somebody play at some point in some capacity.
What about Zaibatsu Loyalty?
So, no. But that's the thing, is that's what I'm saying, right?
But Research Station is Zaibatsu Loyalty levels of bad.
Yes, because it just sucks. It doesn't do anything. Even Zaibatsu Loyalty, at least, like, you could theorize, does something in some capacity.
Right, if Blackguard meta had become a thing.
Yeah. Like, you know, and I don't know, at least it prevents something that happens. And, you know, obviously, though, the thing that it prevents isn't that big of a deal, so that's why it's bad. But it's like Research Station, it's like it just lets you hold 2 more cards, which is stupid. Why would, like, you don't want to do that. Holding 2 more cards is meaningless. It's pointless. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've never seen anybody run this card, and it's because it's stupid.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. It's bad. So should we talk about its flavor?
Sure. Go ahead and read that flavor text for me.
All right. We've got Jack Wayland built the beanstalk and transformed the human race forever. I can't wait to see what we're going to do next. Yep, this was the next thing.
This shit, dude, is so badass, bro. You're not even gonna fucking believe it. Though honestly, I mean, like, as stupid as it is and as funny as it is that it has kind of like that sort of flavor text. Admittedly, the function to flavor does sort of make sense in that it's like, oh, I can't wait to see what we're going to do next, and you
Yep.
can hold more cards in HQ, which is the
Yeah, I'll give it that, and I'll give it that the flavor text made me laugh.
Yeah, that's true. What is this though? Research station? Like, so here's like this is the inside of a computer though, right? Like,
I can't. Maybe. I'm not sure.
like what am so that's a good point here. Like, what am I looking at with this?
It's the research station.
But is this inside of a building? Like, does a person fit in here? Because if you look around at all the background stuff, like the little fans and things, like this looks like the inside of like a computer.
Like, not a new computer either. Like a one you found at an Office Max in 2001.
Yeah, this is. It just looks very strange.
It does.
Especially for what it is. Like, would a research station not just be a building?
Maybe, and then you've got like Tony Stark's rectangular arc reactor in the middle.
Like, that's supposed to be like a hologram or some shit, right? I mean,
I do not know. Kind of looks like it, but I do not know.
yeah. Like, I've never known what this is, but even here scrutinizing the image and analyzing it, I still don't know what this is.
I'll tell you what it is. It's the nicest one of those I've ever seen.
Hell yeah. This is the power of holding 2 more cards.
Well.
What do we rate Research Station?
Zilch.
Yeah, it gets a 0. Gets a hard 0 from me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is boring and it sucks.
Yeah, it's boring, it sucks. The art is
confusing,
doesn't communicate anything to me about what it's supposed to be. Then the flavor text, I mean, is all right for what the card does, but it's still just silly in the context of like how poopy the card is.
Yep.
So yeah, let's move on.
What do we got next?
What we got next, and this is a milestone. We are into the neutral corporation cards.
Oh man, home stretch.
Which is a big milestone because what comes after the neutral corporation cards? Yeah?
Nothing.
After the neutral corp cards, that's the end of the core set. Exciting times.
Sweet embrace of death. That's what we get.
Yep. But anyway, up next we have Priority Requisition, which, as stated, is a neutral agenda. It has a 5 advancement cost for 3 points. It has the security subtype, and it reads: when you score Priority Requisition, you may res a piece of ice, ignoring all costs. Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Why did this agenda feel so bad to run? Which was exacerbated by the fact that you really had to put this in decks for a decent amount of time.
You know, I've thought about this for a little while, because on the surface it seems like it's got a fairly powerful ability. You get it, and then whatever big piece of ice you've been holding in the pocket, boom, here it is. It's rezzed. It's doing its thing now, and you didn't have to pay for it. Isn't that great? The problem is that you have to line too many things up. This is a shot in pool that you have to bounce off of 2 walls. You need a big piece of ice, one that's unrezzed still, when you scores this. And this is a 5-3. So the odds that you have not had to spend your big ice protecting it or your other servers by the time you get this out is not that high. You have to have drawn the big ice has to be in place, you have to have not rezzed it, and then you have to score this. It's a combo piece that's like 2 cards, but it still feels really bad because you have to line everything up.
Yeah, there do have to be some stars aligned in order for this to not feel bad to have and to use and to score and to look at. 'Cause yeah, that's just it, right? Too many moving parts. It's like I have to have my big piece of ice, that I can target with Priorec. I then have to have not already rezzed it in the service of protecting either this, or another server or what have you. And then I have to actually get this on the table for, the 2 turns minimum in order to do that.
Totally. And you know what? You know what you commonly have to do in defense of 5/3s? Res some damn ice.
Yes. And one of the problems is that we didn't really have an alternative to old Priorec for a while.
No, we didn't.
So every deck ran this just because they had to.
You had to fill out the points because you were required to put a certain number of points in your deck. And you know what feels really bad? Only drawing 1 piece of ice in your starting hand and putting it over HQ, and someone runs R&D and pulls this stupid 3-pointer off the top.
Yep. Always feels bad. As the resident next design player, I was able to kind of get and fire this a few times, that didn't feel terrible. But even, as a next player who obviously had a lot of ice in the deck, even scoring this didn't feel that great because, next is more of a rush deck, so usually I was running pretty, generally pretty cheap ice anyway.
Yeah.
I think usually the best value I got out of this was, being able to, like, res a Victor 2 or something.
That was most common. Like, I got some archers and some Hadrian's walls and things off of this, but just as often I would, wind up having to pay to res the Hadrian's wall. And then it's like, ooh boy, am I gonna get a shadow with this? Amazing.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I'll take my free Victor 1.0.
Yeah.
I'll take my free roto turret. Woo.
As kind of mentioned as well, yeah, 5/3s just hurt to run.
Yeah. They're big and clunky. They you gotta run them right, and you want to run them, so that they decrease your overall agenda density.
Mm-hmm.
But we certainly got better ones as the game went on. One in particular that it was really too good. Being Global Food Initiative.
Yeah. Maybe one day that will be its own discussion. But yeah, 5/3s suck. They're very asymmetrical in that they are as easy to steal as other agendas, if not easier, because they're going to spend an extra turn in a remote. And they are way harder to score. They are 2 full turns to score.
Yeah, it's like
a huge tempo.
Yeah, it's like Corps hate 5/3s just as much as runners love them.
Exactly.
And it was just always felt bad when you were getting like medium dug through your R&D and you haven't seen one of these yet, and you're just like, oh my god, please.
It feels really bad.
Yeah. And the ability does not make up for how bad it feels.
No. Once in a while you'd get something good with it, but it didn't wash away the pain of all the other times.
Nope. And then really as soon as we started getting 5/3 alternatives that which it's kind of funny to think how many 5/3s we did actually get before all the big ones that people ran that still just really weren't any better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did get 5/3s, in like the early cycles, we got 5/3s in Genesis.
Yeah.
But none of them were better than this, really. You still.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, but no, none of them were better.
Yeah, you were still, just as well off running this, basically. It wasn't until much later in the game that we did finally get 5/3s that were legitimately good or worth running.
It took a while.
Yep. But until then, people just
But really, even once we got 5/3s that were worth running, they were all self-defending 5/3s. That was the common thing between them. They were 5/3s that made it less asymmetric.
They were 5/3s that removed some of the shittiness of their existence.
Yes.
But up until those came around, yep, people ran Prio Rec because they had to.
The dark times.
The dark times indeed. Yeah. I don't think there's too much else to say about this. This card was everywhere out of pure necessity, but nobody wanted to run it and nobody liked it.
Correct.
Flavor?
Flavor. If it isn't in my terminal by 6 p.m., heads are going to roll! Exclamation point. And this man looks rather angry about whatever not being on his terminal, doesn't he? Even though he's got paper on his futuristic desk.
He does. He does have a lot of paper on his future desk, which is weird. So you want to know something about this art?
I do.
Is that initially and for the longest time, and really up until now, I kind of can't really stop myself from seeing this. But this looks like an angry judge, like banging a gavel.
It kind of does.
And that's how I saw it, and I really don't know that I'll ever stop initially just seeing it that way.
Would you think it's possibly a zealous judge?
He might be a little zealous, overzealous even.
Wow.
But yeah. Yeah, Flavor's like, alright, I guess. I mean, mad corporate dude wants the thingy and he wants it now.
Yeah, the angry suit gets his stuff because he's really mad about it. Though it is a little ironic that his priority requisition takes 2 turns to get out and is super annoying.
Right. You know what I think? The reason why I see it as a judge is because the way that his suit is drawn makes it too big and flowy that it like looks like a robe almost.
Mm-hmm.
And so like what I see when I look at it is I see what's supposed to be his waistcoat as being like a buttoned up suit, and then what's supposed to be his actual, suit jacket as like a robe over that.
I can see where you got there.
But yeah, it's all right.
It's okay.
Certainly, better than the card itself, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the question we didn't ask the last couple. How do you improve this or change it?
Oh yeah, you know what? I felt like we were missing something from the last couple cards, but yeah, we really did drop the ball on there. You know what? This is going to be my official archived memories apology. Last 2 cards we should have talked about how we would have made them better. And you know what?
Spoiler: there's nothing that would say Research Station.
Yeah, no, Research Station just needs to do a different thing because that shit sucks. How would I change it? Maybe like when you score priority requisition, you may either res a piece of ice ignoring all costs, or choose a resed piece of ice and gain credits equal to its res cost.
That would be interesting. Get a little flexibility with it.
So then that way you're making up for the cost of a piece of ice one way or the other.
Sure. I don't hate that. I was thinking you could potentially have it install a piece of ice from your hand and res it.
Okay. That might, that would also give it some flexibility. And then, maybe be a little less boring than my suggestion, and where, it just gives you credits.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would make it good enough to run, but it would certainly make it more interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. And then that way, at least if you're holding on to something big, then you can still get value out of it.
Yeah.
Less flexible, I think, than my suggestion, but probably more fun and interesting, I guess.
I would at least try it out, but it would still probably go back in the binder as soon as the good 5.
Yeah, it would still go into the fucking. It'd still go to the Shadow Realm as soon as fucking GFI hit the scene.
Yeah, totally.
What do we rate priority requisition?
Priority requisition is gonna get a 2 from me. It's not meat space garbage, I just don't like it, and I never liked it.
Yeah. I agree with it too on Priorec. Because it's certainly not like it's not awful. It's not the worst thing ever. Like it's got a decent enough ability that will fire sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, it's not useless. It doesn't do nothing. It just is very lackluster. Um, and having to run it, like being forced to run it for so long, I think maybe made it feel extra bad.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So I think 2 is completely fair to old Priorec here.
You got off easy, Priorec.
Yep. Now I want you off my terminal by now.
Got him.
All right. Next up, we got Private Security Force, which is another neutral agenda. It has the security subtype. It is 4 advancement cost for 2 points. And it reads, if the runner is tagged, Private Security Force gains 1 click, do 1 meat damage. How is it?
Yeah.
Was anybody ever able to get this to work?
You know what? There was. Someone did get this to work.
Oh, do tell.
I'm going to tell you a brief story about a deck that in fact Steve created. So he's going to gleefully put up some cards here for us. That he built what he called an Aryabhata deck, which was based on Aryabhata tech, which whenever a trace is it when a trace succeeds or just fires? I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's when it succeeds. He gains a credit, or the corp gains a credit, and the runner loses a credit.
I think it's whenever a trace is initiated.
Might be true. But it was a vanilla NBN deck, and it had traces galore. He ran door to door that traced at the start of the runner's turn each time, and he'd pump, recurring credits into that, or just credits in general. Credits he would be refunded by Aryabhata, making you poorer. It was effectively an economic prison deck that would chip away at you and until you were broke, and then you were broken tagged, and then you were broken tagged and taking meat damage, and he would try to score a private security force and add some clicks of meat damage to that as well. It was a bizarre but at times very effective prison deck. When I played against it, and I played against it often because he really enjoyed running it, it was basically I would try to blitz him before he got his combo pieces, because if he did, it was very oppressive.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to say that I've never played against it, but I think that might be wrong because I think the 1 or 2 times that I played against it, I just won before it did whatever it did, and so it just didn't really stick out in my memory, perhaps. But that is interesting, and that sounds interesting and fun. I guess maybe not fun, when you're on the receiving end of it, but
it made for interesting games. I will definitely say that. If you played just a really tight, economically efficient, access-driven deck, it would beat this deck because it would just get off to the races sooner, and it would win before this really got going most of the time. But it was very interesting, and we had a lot of fun games with it.
Yeah, you hear that, Steve? Your Aryabhata tech deck was really fun and interesting, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, you nerd.
But anyway, that's cool. Glad that somebody did get it to work. Outside of that, this card kind of sucks.
Yeah. It was not helpful for Scorch. 1 click for 1 damage is not killing anybody.
Yeah, this was another deck that just got thrown into decks out of necessity for a little while.
Yep. Especially just vanilla core. This was obviously in all of the decks.
Yeah.
Nothing else, but it's this isn't doing anything for most of the factions.
Yeah. Literally just exists to put agenda points in your deck because you have to have a certain amount of them.
Yep.
Or else you're a cheater.
We wouldn't want that, would we?
No. But Yeah, this was definitely another one of those cards where as soon as there were alternatives to putting it in your deck, you no longer put it in your deck. This was taken out of decks at the earliest possible point.
Yeah, I mean, its effect is too specific. It is for one type of deck, and it's niche even for that deck. It's you just happen to be in a situation where you've only got one of your Scorch and they're at like 4 or 3 cards or something, or exactly 4 cards, and you got a Sea Source and you got to Scorch them, and then you just need one more damage and you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that in the sort of core decks or sort of decks where you have to run this. If you're running a Scorched Earth deck, early core-ish Scorched Earth deck, if you're able to get one of these out, that probably feels pretty good.
Sure.
As far as just giving you one step, probably a very baby one at that, but a step nonetheless, toward your win con.
I guess.
But yeah, that's by no means, me trying to say that, this is, good or anything, but just saying that, if Tag and Bag Wayland gets, is able to eke this one out, probably feels decent.
Maybe. I still think even in those situations, like most of the time, you'd just rather have something else.
Sure. But, gotta at least try to throw it a little bit of a bone.
I don't think it needs a bone. I think what it needs is for Bulk and Skull to be on some better cards.
So I guess, let's not drop the ball here again. What would we do to Private Security Force to make it a little less poopy?
I don't want it to do 2 meat damage for a click.
Yeah, it's too strong, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, if the runner is tagged, Private Security Force gains, at the beginning of your turn, the runner takes 1 meat damage, or do 1 meat damage or something.
I like that more.
Because then you don't have to do anything. You don't have to commit anything to it. Once you score it, then you have what is just, a nice effect for the rest of the game.
Sure. Or maybe whenever the runner receives a tag, do 1 meat damage.
Maybe. I don't know. Hard to say.
Doing it only at the start of the turn is only going to be effective if the runner has gone tag me, basically. Is my concern there.
Sure. Would it be too strong if it was just if it literally just said, at the beginning of each turn do 1 meat damage?
Yeah, it would be too strong. Because you're basically eliminating one of the runner's clicks every turn.
Yeah, that's fair.
And eventually they're going to run out of cards, and you're maybe sniping critical pieces. That would be too good.
What if it was like at the beginning of each turn, do 1 meat damage? The runner may pay 1 credit to prevent this.
I mean, now you're kind of you're basically, this is door to door again at that point.
I guess that's fair. I'm just trying to reach for something here.
Yeah, that's fair.
What if it just read, if the runner is tagged, kill them in real life?
Oh, well, now we're talking. Very balanced.
Just spitballing here.
Genius.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe I would just leave it at that. Like, if the runner is tagged, what if the runner is tagged at the beginning of each turn, do 1 meat damage?
If the runner is tagged at the beginning of each turn, do 1 meat damage.
Then that way, even if they, it would. Well, no. Then if they're going tag me, they would just be completely annihilated. So then that's probably too strong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's just how Private Security Force just has to be. Maybe it's just destined to be a pretty poopy card. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if it was a 2/1. I don't know. But then it's good for different reasons.
Yeah. Then it's. I don't know. I think maybe Private Security Force is just a lost cause.
You hear that, Steve? Your Aryabhata deck is a lost cause.
Yeah, your Aryabhata tech deck actually sucks. Dude, now I want an Aryabhata tech deck, like those little worm guys that ride the skateboards. Somebody make a picture of that Aryabhata tech deck.
I feel like AI can do us good here.
Yeah. How do we feel about the flavor? The flavor text reads, expensive, not when you're protecting a fortune as large as ours.
I mean, it's pretty basic. I like the art, though. Mostly just because I'm fond of Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, I do like the Balkan Skull, and you know, admittedly, you know, skull up front here does look pretty badass with his like uh Alex Jensen shades and his uh just weirdly designed future submachine gun and his
Yeah,
cool coat.
I am a little unclear on whether he is gripping a foregrip or a magazine.
It's definitely a magazine. So maybe we'll just say that maybe he's like at the tail end of a reload.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Sure. I'm on board.
Yeah. His coat also pretty cool.
True.
And the fact that he has his hair to where he's got like several widow's peaks also pretty cool.
It's got to be a deliberate choice.
Yeah. He's like, what if I just had 5 widow's peaks? Wouldn't that be badass?
You might call it peak fashion.
Oh. But no, I do like. I mean, it's like it's decent enough. I've always thought that it's kind of unfortunate that Private Security Force sort of sucks as much as it does, because one of my favorite sort of tropes with Cyberpunk, is a corporation, just kind of being so large and infallible that they do just have their own, armed forces.
Yeah, totally.
So that kind of just culminating as what is a less than mediocre card in Netrunner is a little unfortunate.
What if you also just gave it like an ability that was, if the runner is tagged, click trash a resource, or I don't know, maybe if it just had some other click ability as well.
That'd actually be kind of interesting too if it just had like, if the runner is tagged, you may, choose, you may choose one action per turn or something, and then it's just like several different actions, like do 1 deep damage, trash the top card of the stack,
Right. What do you want to do with your thugs?
Yeah, like what do you want your private security force to go fuck up? But now obviously the idea of the corporate military, or like a corporate PMC or whatever, is still expounded upon and used very heavily throughout other cards in the game. Just kind of sucks that the private security force, the titular private security force, is so underwhelming.
Agreed.
But I don't know, flavor though, still I think pretty cool.
Solid.
Classic even.
So what do we rate it?
I feel inclined to give it a 2. Because it's pretty bad, except it's not terrible, but it's just pretty bad.
I wanted to give it a 3, but no. I'm in agreement. It's a 2.
Yeah, it's just not very good. Sorry, Steve. It's not very good.
Much like you.
Yeah. Next card.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have Melange Mining Corp. It is a neutral asset. It is 1 to res and 1 to trash. And it reads, spend click, click, click to gain 7 credits. Okay. Aaron. Corporations had a real problem with money for quite a while.
Sure did.
Was Melange a good solution to that?
Well, no, but oftentimes, especially in the early game, it was kind of all you had.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, this is in the core set. We're talking about all the money troubles corporations had, so obviously it didn't solve the problem. I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, was this directionally correct and just mistuned, or was there inherent problems with it, do you think?
It's hard to say, right? I mean, that's a really tough question. Because when I look at Melange Mining Corp, like, there's nothing about it that jumps out to me as like, oh no, you shouldn't, it shouldn't be X, it should be Y. Because when you just look at it, right, it's 1 to res, which is very extremely low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
It costs no influence, so you get it for free no matter what you're playing. And the money that you get from it, so you have to spend your whole turn, which sucks. And that's kind of that really is sort of the main problem here. That you have to spend your whole turn to use it. But you do get 7 credits, which is not only better than clicking 3 times to get 3 credits. It's actually just a little better than double that.
Yeah, pretty efficient actually.
But the problem is that in practice, it doesn't work out very good. It ends up being very clunky, and I think the biggest offender of anything is the one to trash.
That one is a problem. It's like an entire mining operation. Very, very easy to get rid of, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently, apparently all this equipment is just covered in gasoline or something.
Or helium-3.
Yeah, you know. But
I think it's the 3 clicks. That's really it, right? The problem isn't the individual click efficiency, it's that you can't do anything else with your turn.
Yeah. Do you think that Melange Mining Corp would be a better card if it was 2 clicks to gain 5 credits?
Yeah, I do.
Interesting. And I think pretty fair, right? It's just if you could at least do something else with your turn.
Right. 2 clicks for 5 credits puts you back into range of being able to like throw out a hedge fund as well if you just need a huge economy recovery turn. It also lets you like install the card if what if you're dead broke and your agenda flooded, but you've got ice on the table that you just can't afford to res, but you don't want to dump any of those agendas into archives. It's like you need to be able to do something with one of your clicks, but you can't.
Yeah, I feel like being able to, if you have 1 credit, being able to just play this, res it, and then get to 5 would be pretty significant.
Yeah. I mean, kind of compare this to the ability of Helahan's Arcology, which is 2 clicks for 3 credits, which is not great, but I saw that used like a fair number of times at competitive events.
Yeah, I mean, I ran Helahan's in at least 1 or 2 variations of my next deck, and it was nice to be able to score that.
Right, because you had not the most efficient economy source in the world, but it was better than just clicking for credits.
For sure.
Sometimes that's all you needed.
I almost wonder, as we talk about it, though, if 2 for 5 would be too strong, though.
Maybe, but I mean, the 1 trash cost again.
Yeah, so if you kept it at 1 trash cost, it might not be too bad. But I am thinking that like if you are able to just kind of immediately get this down, get a return from it, be able to protect it, and then sort of indefinitely, you're able to just every turn gain 5 credits, do something, gain 5 credits, do something, gain 5 credits. Like that might be a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah, you might be right. And I don't dislike the idea of a card that you spend your whole turn focused on the one thing, but the opportunity cost with that is very heavy.
Yeah. I think if I were to try to rebalance this, I would more just focus on the 1 trash cost. Because I feel like the 1 trash cost is just kind of unforgivable.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a slap in the face. You know, it's like adding insult to injury. It's like, I got to get this set up, spend my whole turn to get anything from it, and then the runner can either just instantly trash it, you know, the second they choose to, if I haven't really protected it, or if they, you know, or maybe I'm just waiting on economy and they see this off the top of my deck, like, ugh.
Right, easy dig.
So, and that's the biggest problem with a lot of like low trash cost cards, is that you also have to consider how much worse they make R&D lock situations.
Yeah, that's very valid. It's one of the reasons why trap cards were not commonly run, because the 0 trash cost.
Yeah, if you're stuck in an R&D lock, they're an active detriment to have in your deck at that point.
Yes.
And so I think Melange at the very least should have a 3 trash cost.
I think that's fair.
You know, depending on the time of day, I might even say 4 would be fair. But, you know.
I could go for 4. 5 might be a little excessive.
Yeah.
I think the 1 res cost is fine.
Yeah, 1 res cost is fine. And again, like you said, the idea of having to spend your whole turn for a large kind of economic boon, I think it's fine. I think that's, you know, good design space, and I think that's worth being explored and having in the game. I just think that the 1 trash cost just makes it too much to have to try to deal with.
Yes, I would agree with that. It's too... you can't install it and use it on the same turn already. And it being one to trash is just too easy. There are plenty of cards out there where the runner will run them and access them and be like, I don't really want to trash this. The corp hasn't paid for it. Things like an EVE campaign, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't want to just spend 5 credits when this has cost them nothing to this point. But 1 credit, they'll trash that all day. It's like, no, I don't want you to be able to recover economically. Go die.
Yeah. And one of the big problems with Melange is that half the time, like a successful quote-unquote use of this card is playing it naked, crossing your fingers that they don't check it, and then being able to res and use it once before they go and get rid of it.
Yep.
And it's just, if that's like your more common than not successful use case for a card, then I mean, it's not too hot.
Yep.
In most circumstances, when you play this, you're probably playing it, have to protect it. And then if you're protecting this, you're not protecting an agenda. And it's
right, which means that this is probably going to be a temporary card. You're using it maybe twice before you install an agenda over it or something.
Yeah. Just as far as an economy choice, we didn't have a lot of them in the core set. This was just one that you kind of had to run. But this was very quick cutting room floor material as soon as better econ options for anybody came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It did do its job for a while. We can say that about it.
Yeah, it was alright. It's not an awful card by any means.
No. It just got overshadowed by other economy cards, as we find most economy cards from the beginning of Netrunner wind up getting overshadowed. There are exceptions, obviously.
Yeah.
But the majority.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that as the game went on, there was some definite economy creep.
For sure. Which, alright, shout out to our friend Triffids if he's still watching these. But he made the point that credits were insufficiently granular for a long time. Like the jump between 1 to 2 credits was too high, and 2 to 3 credits, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I don't think Triffids watches these at all. I'm gonna be real. Triffids, prove me wrong. Leave a comment. If you're one of our soldiers, but
probably not.
But I tend to agree with his takes on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Do we want to talk about the flavor now on this one?
Yeah, why not? The mining bosses are worse than any downstock crime lords. Trimoff, 4K, Yak. I don't care what gangs you got down there. In Heinlein, there's just one law: the helium-3, must flow. Uldrich Henry, escaped clone.
Pretty cool.
I really like that flavor text.
Dune reference. Dune reference.
Heinlein reference. Crime boss stuff. It's very flavorful. You definitely get a sense. It's doing exactly what flavor text should do. It gives you a sense of the world through the card.
Yeah, I think the flavor text is really good. Inversely, I find the art to be kind of not so great.
Right. It's a Tonka truck.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. It's a big old Tonka truck.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we've got these what are worse than crime bosses and these horrible conditions, and nobody cares what's happening except that the helium-3 has to flow, and it's a Tonka truck.
Yeah, like how do we really convey this in the art?
How do we convey this dystopia?
How do we convey this horrid dystopia?
With my 4-year-old nephew's toys.
With my 4-year-old nephew's Tonka truck. Yeah, it's just kind of whatever. Like, it's not bad art, but it definitely misses the mark.
It could be better.
Like, if you were describing to me like a really crazy, like inhumane, rough, helium-3 mining operation on the moon, this is not what this would not be my go-to to project that.
Yeah, you get the feeling that the guy who wrote the card, or the guy who wrote the flavor text, did not send the flavor text to the guy who wrote the card art.
Yeah, Like it was just like two different people.
Yeah.
Probably was, honestly. I mean, obviously.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was two different people, but it's like there was no communication there.
There was no involvement between the two. It's just like, hey, can you draw us a Tonka truck? And then the other guy's like, ooh man, the moon really sucks.
Yeah, don't go to the moon.
Mining on the moon really blows, dude.
It is not cash money, except for the 7 credits.
Yeah, it is actually cash money, as it turns out. Anyway, what do we rate the Mining Corp?
I am gonna give it 3 stars. I like it. I think I have fond memories of it. I think it was trying to do something interesting economically. I think it kind of missed the mark a little bit, but I liked the direction.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement. I also give it a 3. Because for as kind of badly as we spoke about Melange Mining Corp, I certainly have fond memories of being able to get this down and get to use it. Hell, sometimes even use it on 2 turns.
Whoa.
Crazy. But, you know, I definitely, like you said, I have fond memories of running it and, you know, being able to use it. It's a card that does feel good to use in, you know, circumstances where you're able to, you know, use it at its best.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So, you know, Melange Mining Corp, you're all right. You know, we're gonna keep you from having to mingle with the dregs of the Netrunner core set card pool.
Yes, you get to sit up the table from Private Security Force and Research Station.
Yeah, you don't have to sit in the corner with precognition.
Oof.
You're definitely not in the booth with accelerated beta test and stem hack, but you know, you got like not nosebleed seats, but ones where it's like, you know, at least you can kind of see what's going on.
Right. Shelled out a little more for them.
Yeah, that's where Melange Mining Corp gets to sit. All right, well, that's our 5 cards. That's our hour. Do we have anything more to say before we wrap this up here?
Well, if we just installed Research Station, we could do 7 cards.